former police officer Miles Bryant is due back in court in our next hour. Now, prosecutors say Bryant is a stalker with a history of dangerous behavior. The defendant allegedly kidnapped Susana from her apartment complex, killed her, and hid her body in the woods. Now, testimony has been very emotional, with Susana's mother taking the stand on day one.
What went through your mind at that moment when you heard?
Pasó por su mente en ese momento cuando escuchó. No quería eso. Yo no quería esa noticia. I did not want that those news. Yo la esperaba. I was waiting for her. Y la sigo esperando. And I'm still waiting for her.
It was so heartbreaking seeing Susana Morales' mother testifying on the first day of trial for the man accused of murdering her, an ex-cop named Miles Bryant. We want to put the spotlight on the victim. That's what we do on this show here on Opening Statements, on Susana Morales and her family. I have a very special guest I want to bring in. He's the attorney representing Susana's father, Florentino Morales. He's here in the studio. He's also been a prosecuting attorney before moving into the civil realm in the private sector. Brandon Smith, so great to have you here. Good morning.
Great to be with you, Julie. Thank you so much.
Of course. Brandon, could we start with Susana, who she was, what kind of a life she was living? I mean, 16 years old, she was a baby, Brandon.
It's truly unbelievable. She was an amazing, amazing teenager. And like any teenager, she loved spending time with her friends. She loved music, she loved playing music, she loved to sing, and she really loved her family. And the night that she was alleged to have been taken and ultimately killed, she was doing what she loved. She was spending time with her friends at an apartment complex in Gwinnett County.
She was doing, what teenagers do. She was hanging with her friends. She did have Life 360 on her phone too, which is something we see a lot of young people doing, but we know it's not foolproof either, and we know her friends didn't want to get her in trouble either. Brandon, tell me, when we think about this, I think one of the things that's so tragic is that Susana was so close to home. For anybody who hasn't watched this case, I mean, the proximity is that apartment complex where the defendant was working as a courtesy officer sat right behind the complex where she lived with her family. And when she went home, she couldn't jump the fence. Nobody, I guess she could, but nobody would do this. It's not a safe, smart thing to do. So she's going to have to walk on the main road. And that's where it seems like something terrible occurred, right?
There's no doubt. And what I do have a background as a prosecutor, but what I do is I look for an opportunity through the civil process to bring justice.
Right.
And in this case, as you noted, and as Court TV has done an amazing job of covering, this individual was a courtesy officer of this apartment complex. In the state of Georgia and most states, every property owner has a duty to exercise ordinary care to make sure that invitees are kept safe.
The people who go there, right? Fancy word for people who go there, like Susana.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you as a property owner have an obligation to protect people just like Susana from foreseeable harm. And in this case, Miles Bryant was a courtesy officer of this apartment complex.
Yeah.
And they brought the harm to the apartment.
Sure. Oh, I think you have the chances of tremendous success in your civil lawsuit on behalf of the family. I also think this is an incredibly strong case for the state of Georgia. I mean, my gosh, Brandon, how did this guy get a badge and a gun? I mean, he had a terrible history of targeting women and girls and very perverse activities. I understand as part of your civil lawsuit, you went through his personnel file. You actually dug through it. What did you see in there?
Well, and I'll start just by saying the prosecution in the underlying case that's happening now has done a very good job of finding out evidence that has already been brought to bear in the criminal trial. We also did our own due diligence with respect to open records requests to Doraville to get the personnel file of this individual that is accused of doing what has been done to Susana. And in that file, we found numerous things that really should have served as red flags. As the prosecution in the criminal case has noted, some of this conduct dates back to 2018, Julie, where he is having alleged sexual assault, burglaries that have been alleged as well, all predating his employment and potentially even during his employment. But in that personnel file, what was interesting was he worked for Forsyth County before coming to Doraville, and he put down 3 references. There's no evidence that any of those 3 references were contacted. Not only that, he made a note to say, do not contact any of those references. So that begs the question, why not?
Sure.
Also in 2021, he impersonated, as Court TV has aptly noted, being an assailant against against an on-duty police officer, and was pretending to hide a gun and wearing a hoodie, and was cited for having harassing, horrible conduct against another police officer. So these are all allegations that the prosecution has been brought to bear. These are facts that we are uncovering in the civil case as we continue to pursue justice for this family.
Right. You know, this family, Brandon, they've been through, I mean, a living nightmare. They've just had to live a nightmare. I mean, 7 months of torture. Let's just go back. I mean, talking with Susana's dad, Florentino, what was that like for the family when she's missing? She's missing, they don't know where she is. What did they share with you about that experience?
July 26, 2022 was every parent's worst nightmare. Susana, who had been spending time with her friends, communicating with her family, this is where I am, this is where I'm gonna be, I'm coming home, went missing. And then it was silence, absolute silence for 7 months. And so this family absolutely did not want any stone to be uncovered. And I'll say, I applaud the Hispanic community in Gwinnett County and beyond, because that community would not stop speaking her name. They would not stop bringing this to light. And whether it was a town hall in Gwinnett County, talking to local officers, talking to influencers, legislators that were within the community, they brought her name to light. And that was a part of their process in wanting to do the right thing. And we want to do the right thing, Julie. That is why my law firm exists, is to make a right out of a wrong. And a wrong has happened in this case, and we're trying to find out the best path that we can for Susana Morales.
Oh, no doubt she's been wronged. And I think the other thing that's got to be really tough for the family, Brandon, is that they're lacking answers. I mean, these prosecutors were very forthcoming in saying, because her remains were skeletonized, we don't know how she died. We don't know if she was maybe strangled to death. We know that the defendant's service weapon was found right next to her body. We don't know if that was used perhaps to lure her into the woods. We don't even know if she was raped. That's going to be so tough for the family to still not have those answers and to have to come to terms with the fact that they'll never get them.
There's no doubt. And some of those answers are, frankly, impossible because the time and lack of communication, not knowing where she was for 7 months. As you all have noted and pointed out correctly, she was taken about 20 miles away in a wooded area, about 100 yards off the road. And prosecutors, through their diligence and through uncovering all that they have about prior criminal act or prior bad acts that they're bringing to bear in the trial, are helping, but they'll never help. They'll never bring Susana back.
Right.
And even the civil case or the criminal justice system won't satisfy that hole and that void that has been filled by her loss and by her disappearance. But there is peace in the process. And this family is getting some peace in a horrible process to make sure that something like this never happens again.
Yeah, she certainly didn't die in vain. Her name is going to continue to be remembered, not only in Georgia, but this case is getting coverage all over now, really all over the country. And we have viewers in many parts of the world. Susana Morales, a beautiful young child, deserved to live. And we sure hope and pray she gets justice. Brandon Smith, thank you for the conversation this morning. We will continue our conversation with you as this case progresses. Thank you very much for coming in today.